Hey guys, so welcome back. This is the week after Lee Speedway. Obviously, when you see that video, you'll see that we continue to have more problems with the drivetrain. Today, the plan is to get the car apart and really check everything over, and probably be pulling the motor this week. Gonna put you on time lapse so I can get working, start getting the car all apart, and I'll check in with you when I have an update. We're a week later. The car's obviously here in the shop. Basically this week has been a lot of ordering parts. Give you a quick rundown of what's going on. We've got a lot of new parts. I'll go over them as we go. The motor's already started coming out so that we can get at the clutch. So might be an issue with the clutch disc itself, but this little guy might be a problem too. So this thing's been happening for so long, and we think that maybe as this thing keeps backing out of the coupler keeps backing out of the motor, the pilot bearing in the back of the crank is taking a beating. Now these are custom pilot bearings because it's a special setup. So we took the spare motor, measured the inside of the crank, and obviously measured the shaft. I picked a couple of these up from McMaster cars that are rated definitely well enough to do the job. This is probably not the exact size. We'll have to throw it in the lathe. The U-joint's on here, and that goes to the slip yoke that holds the drive shaft. I know I keep saying axle in the video, and hopefully you guys are correcting me in the comments. This, you've seen the bearing in the housing itself. So on the back of the crank, when this goes through the clutch here, the pilot bearing's in the back of the crank. So we're going to get the old one out, so the motor has to come out, or the motor plate. I'm going to check that out and make that decision. So like I said, I bought stock at McMaster Car. Love that website because I can put in all the dimensions and see what they're rated at and everything. So this is nice. This one's going to work out good, assuming it fits in the back of the crank and I can get it to the exact right size in our little mini lathe. So we're going to take any possibility that any of this could be misaligned out or causing any of our problem. The first thing I'm going to do though is I'll show you. I've started taking the drivetrain apart. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the gears out of the rear end. I'm going to take the torque tube off. I have the rear end set to exactly where it needs to be at when the rear end's in the car, when the car's on the ground. So we'll take the torque tube and torque ball off, which means I have to take everything apart and then put it back together with just the yoke and the drive shaft in it, and we'll run a final check. What I'm going to do is we've pulled the plugs on the motor. Like I said, the motor's just about ready to come out, but we pulled the plugs on the motor. I'm going to turn the motor over and check the coupler and check the rear end again with the gears out to make sure that that thing spins without any wobble in it. So here we have the torque tube off and the torque ball off, drive shaft in there. We've done it at a couple different bumps as in racing where the rear end would go. So when it goes under bump, the rear end, the axle actually pulls back. We'll start back here. If the axle's here all the way back, and this is the spline that is tougher to get out. That's been tougher for us to get out of there. But now we go to the front. If this is obviously under load and everything's doing it, the axle where it is can pull out that far. I don't know if you could see that. It's actually, I don't know how we got to this situation here. You can see here we have over an inch, and this should only be 1/4 of an inch. So the axle, we think it's just pulling everything out. We did spin the motor over. I really can't tell anything, but this thing does get really nasty when he's spinning the motor over when it's pulled out like this. So this is just a huge screw up somewhere along the line. So we've got all the new parts. Now it's time to just get this thing, all new stuff. And how about looking at me? Eyes. Which I think if we just pull the motor forward, we should be good in order to be able to get the clutch out and replace everything. Brand new axle, flywheel, clutch disc, throwout bearing if we have to replace it. Otherwise we have a good spare, torque tube, torque ball, everything will be new. And then we got to clearance the seat, change the gears, and put everything back together. 10 days to race, and I'll check back with you again later on. Flywheel's out, clutch is out. So there's the clutch and the flywheel, which we knew the flywheel was kind of old. But I'm going to head right over to in the car to show you that indeed the pilot bearing is a menace. It's a problem. We basically took everything apart enough, used straps so the motor won't twist, used the jack, slid the motor forward carefully, re-supported it, then unbolted the motor plate, which is out there. It's pouring rain, so I'm letting it try to clean the motor plate. Just kidding. You can see from the pictures and hopefully the video how bad the pilot bearing was. So we need to replace the pilot bearing in the car, and unfortunately we are just a hair off on the size. I needed 0.010 more on that. So the new ones will be coming on Wednesday from McMaster Car, and that's going to hold us up for there. Unfortunately, the hole was so oblonged and bad, the grease would just come squirting out. I went and got a pilot bearing tool. That didn't work because as small it is, trying to grab, and it being bronze, it would just pull right out. The end of the slide hammer that we have is 5/8 18. So 5/8 18 is what all the radius rods have. We do have a tap that fits that, so I actually drilled and tapped the pilot bearing on the inside, and then just screwed it on the end of the slide hammer, and was able to pull it right out. So spent 3 hours trying to figure out how to get it out, and then when it finally came to me, it was 10 minutes. Flywheels in the car with the new throwout bearing. So basically what I had to do was order through McMaster Car the stock, use the mini lathe to turn the OD and the length down so that we'd have a new pilot bearing for the car. Pilot bearings in, flywheels in, brand new flywheel. I'm about to put the clutch in, get the clutch in, then I'll be able to drop the motor plate back in, and DJ will help me carefully put that motor back in place. Ready? A long day and not as much done as I was hoping. Every step of the way we've fought it, but we got creative and it's coming together. So I will see you tomorrow. Today's the day to finish up the car, hopefully. Here's where we stand. There it is, drivetrain's all back in. Everything rotates nice and neat. It's all together, so it's time to just keep hooking things up and reassembling. There it is, drivetrain's all back in. Everything rotates nice and neat. So do have one advantage to the everything being apart, because we had to pull the motor half out to be able to work. I had to take a lot of stuff off, but this will allow me actually to put all the stuff that's hard to get on first, and then I could put the injection on last. So it's going to make things a lot easier and quicker. Well, I don't know about quicker, but easier, less stress on me. So it's time for me to get working on that.